Go right ahead, yeah.
Last name?
Sure. So my name is Josh Devine. It's Josh. The last name is DE, capital V as in Victory, INE. I am a public information officer with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. I'll kind of give you a brief statement, a brief sort of understanding of where things sit at this time, and then I'd be happy to take any and all questions that you might have. As you all know, the Amber Alert continues at this hour for 9-year-old Carly Trent. Still ongoing here in the state of Tennessee, in East Tennessee and Middle Tennessee. That's where we've activated this Amber Alert. We can actually activate those regionally, West, Middle, and East. We've chosen to do so in East and Middle at this point based on the information and our belief about where these individuals may be located. At this point, we're continuing to pursue any and all leads that might present themselves through the tips that we've received at TBI headquarters. To this point, however, we have received no credible reports of sightings of the child, her uncle, or the van that we've released to you, those descriptions. We are working today with local, state, and federal authorities to maximize the resources available to us at this point. We are really doing anything and everything in our capacity to get this girl's picture, to get this man's picture, to get the picture of the van, the description, the license plate number that's out there, out to as many people as possible at this point. We need the public to remain vigilant. If you see something suspicious, we need to hear from you. If you think in the pit of your stomach this might be them, please give us a call at 1-800-TBI-FIND. We really believe that it is going to be a good-natured citizen who might crack this thing wide open and help bring this girl home, which is ultimately what all of us want at this particular point. As we indicated a bit earlier today, we have reason to believe that Simpson may have taken Carly to an isolated area. There are really two different reasons for that. First and foremost, the volume of tips that we've received. Typically, when we issue an Amber Alert in a dense population area, we'll receive plenty of tips, non-stop tips. In this case, we've only received several dozen tips. And we do realize that she's from a rural area, and so is he, and that might come into play, but we believe that they're not necessarily in public view, suffice it to say. Secondly, we released video earlier today of Simpson shopping at the Walmart in Rogersville shortly before he went to the school to pick up the girl. During that shopping trip, some of the items he purchased included items that might be consistent with camping. So that's why we're asking campgrounds, state parks, rural areas, isolated areas to be on especially close watch for any sign of the girl, the man, or the van that we've indicated. The TBI stands ready to do absolutely everything we possibly can to bring this girl home. Our mission is that guilt shall not escape nor innocence suffer. And the search for this girl is really the second piece of that innocence shall not suffer. We want to do everything possible to bring this girl home as quickly as possible. Any questions?
How often is it generally that you have a stranger pick up a child versus an acquaintance versus a family member?
Well, as the school system indicated, the uncle was previously authorized to pick up the girl from school, and the latest information that the school system had is that the uncle was the one who was able to. The court had recently, as you know, transferred custody, full custody, back to the father of this child. However, it's our information that we have that he had not notified the school system that that was the case, that the uncle did not have custody any longer of this child. So we see, on average, about one Amber Alert in the state of Tennessee a month. So
you know if they typically tend to be family members or acquaintances more so than...
We really can't establish patterns. Every case is sort of case specific depending on what's going on.
And Josh, what campgrounds are they searching?
We're searching any and every campground. In fact, yesterday we had an intelligence analyst who was solely devoted to calling state parks, KOA campgrounds, private campgrounds, any kind of campground that might be in this East Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia region, just to get out the word. At this point, we're doing everything that we can in way of due diligence to make sure that the pictures are out there and the story is out there as well.
Is there some boots on the ground searching of campgrounds, and what does that entail?
We don't necessarily have personnel on the ground searching, but we're mainly getting that information into the hands of folks in charge of the campgrounds and asking them, could you keep an eye out? And if you feel like you want to, could you take a look around your campground to see if you spot anything suspicious?
And Josh, you mentioned that the man went to Walmart. before picking the girl up.
Yes.
Can you tell us what he bought there?
Sure. He bought items that are consistent with camping in addition to other items. We're not disclosing that full list at this time because we're still pursuing any relevant investigative leads that might result from that, but suffice it to say, we're looking at that, we're looking at digital evidence, we're looking at anything that might help us piece it together. But as I mentioned, there were some items that spoke to the possibility of camping as a connection with this. So.
And right now you think they're in Middle to East Tennessee. What if there's reason to believe that they went out of the state? Will the FBI get involved?
We've been in touch with our local, state, and federal counterparts outside the boundaries of Tennessee. We're sharing that information that we have for this Amber Alert through law enforcement channels and also through media channels. We're trying to come at it from a variety of ways just to get the information out there into as many hands as possible. We don't have specific evidence that these folks have fled beyond the Tennessee border, but we don't have specific evidence that they've not. So we're just doing everything that we can in the name of due diligence to make sure that we're getting this information into as many hands as possible.
It's now been about 48 hours, I guess, since she left. Is there an amount of time or a timeline that you guys have where the concern becomes even more imminent or more grave?
Well, certainly. When you have a missing child, you want to get that child back as quickly as possible. The longer this goes on, the more concerned we become. And so that's why we're committed to doing everything it takes. We have a team of agents and forensic scientists right now, or I should say, we have a team of agents and intelligence analysts who are working to do anything and everything possible.
Does Simpson have a criminal record?
He does not.
Does he have any military experience or experience outdoors?
I'm unaware of what that might look like.
Is there anything you could share in terms of why he might have abducted her?
We're working to develop that. Suffice it to say, we're conducting interviews, as we would with any TBI investigation, with folks who might be connected to him or might have information about him. And so we would even urge people in the public, if you've had any relationship with this particular individual, to give us a call so we can have a conversation with you, so we can help piece that together.
Can you talk about the effectiveness of Amber Alerts in locating children?
Sure. Amber Alerts are hugely effective here in the state of Tennessee. I think our success rate is 97-98%. And so this really is the height when it comes to missing children. In the state of Tennessee, we have a variety of levels. We have baseline missing children where a law enforcement agency will contact us and say, we've got this missing child. They might be a runaway, that type of situation. Could you put them on your website? And so we do. And a step above that, you've seen us issued endangered child alerts. That's where we have some concern for the child's well-being. Might be a situation in which it's a runaway and they have a health condition, they might need medicine, or it might be a non-custodial type situation where they've taken the child. We'll issue an endangered child alert in some of those situations. And then at the top of that, you have Amber Alert, which is when we have an imminent concern for the child's well-being. And so suffice it to say, in this case, we initially issued an endangered child alert. We later elevated that when our investigation revealed some additional information that we weren't necessarily comfortable with.
And Josh, any idea why he took her now? Like, what's with the timing? Is there any leads on that?
That's something we're hoping to develop through conversations that we're having and interviews we're conducting at this point.
Are you in touch? Are you trying to get in touch with this guy? Are you texting him, pinging him in any way to his cell?
We are using digital channels to try to locate him. However, that has not proven successful to this point.
Is his phone off or anything?
What's that?
Is his phone off?
I don't know at this point.
Is there any reason to believe he might have an accomplice, like a wife or girlfriend?
Not at this point, but again, we're still very much at the preliminary stage of trying to understand his mindset and his mentality and exactly what's going on.
What did this man do for a living? What was his day job?
I don't know at this point. I do know that he might have been, I don't know. Let me try to get a little bit of clarity on that.
But he did have a job.
I'm unaware of him being employed.
Do you know if Carly ever lived with Simpson?
It is our understanding that she did, that he at one point had custody of this child. As we indicated, that the school system indicated as much yesterday in their court documents that bear that out, that he actually had custody of this child in the past. However, he no longer has custody of this child. The court earlier this year gave custody of her back to her biological father.
And Josh, why wasn't this an Amber Alert from the beginning?
Sure. Well, these are conversations that we have to have at TBI. It is a judgment call based on the information available to us at a single moment notice. We want to be extremely judicious when we issue Amber Alerts, which is why we reserve them for the most serious of situations. And this is absolutely a serious situation. However, the initial information that we had did not elevate the concern in our minds to the necessity of an Amber Alert at the time. However, during the course of the preliminary investigation, while the endangered child alert was still ongoing, we developed information that we were no longer comfortable with just leaving it as an endangered child alert, which is when we chose to escalate it.
Nice. What can schools learn from this? I mean, people are saying that the school did everything right, but do you think they're going to have to do some things differently as they learn from this?
Well, in this instance, the school did everything correctly. It's our understanding that the father was the one responsible for ultimately communicating to the school district that the custody situation had changed and that perhaps had not necessarily occurred as it should have in this particular instance.
I feel from what you've been saying, the biggest thing, one of the biggest differences, I mean, I know Amber Alerts are case-by-case basis, but the volume of calls, you said, is really not to where it normally is.
That's correct.
If you can hit one more time, how important it is for people out there to be vigilant and have their eyes open and be the eyes and ears in the community.
Well, as you can hopefully appreciate, law enforcement is a small community. A very small fraction of us are actually commissioned law enforcement officers, and I'm not even one of them. But when you talk about sharing this information with the public and asking them to keep their eyes out, you're essentially multiplying by many, many factors the number of people who know what this person looks like, know the story, know what to do if they spot them. So you're going from a limited pool of law enforcement officers to a huge pool of citizens. That's why we're saying be on the lookout. You know, we hear that term all the time in law enforcement, but now we really need the public to be on the lookout. And if they see something, say something.
Do most successful Amber Alerts, when you find the child, do those result as, you know, as from a citizen who's called in and said, hey, we saw this, a tip that was credible?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they're case specific, but there are definitely great instances in which good-natured citizens have just heard it on the radio, saw what vehicle to look out for, and look up and realize that they're driving right behind that vehicle. That's the kind of call that can make all the difference. That's the kind of call that can save a life.
And Josh, does this man have a registered weapon that you know of?
I'm not aware of that.
You don't know. And also, last night we reported the aunt actually told us that the child was living with them at the time. Do you have any evidence of that?
We do not know.
Remember one more time? The number that the citizens can report.
Sure. 1-800-TBI-FIND. Anything else?
I know you said that the investigation is spread out of state. Has the Amber Alert actually been broadcast in other states?
It has not at this point. Tennessee is the clearinghouse for missing children. Every state has their own criteria by which they issue Amber Alerts. It's not a uniform system from state to state. But we have absolutely been in contact with the clearinghouse for missing children in other states to make them aware of the situation. But at this point, there have been no additional Amber Alerts that have been issued in connection with this missing child.
Good.
Thank you very much.
You were good?
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.